Shedeur is going to start Friday night. Browns at Panthers. Now, Shedeur.
Big opportunity, huge opportunity, and more importantly, show that he can run and manage this offense.
This NFL offseason has been a monumental one, with some huge trade requests, contract extensions, and free agent signings that could shake up the landscape of the league as a whole. But despite all of that, I don't think anyone has been talked about more since February than Shedeur Sanders. As you all know by now, Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to the 5th round of the NFL draft after being projected as a top 3 pick for the majority of the offseason. And even worse for him, he was drafted into quarterback hell when he was selected by the Cleveland Browns at pick number 144. Now, after a full offseason of wondering what the Browns were going to do with their quarterback room, we finally have an idea, and it's all laying on Shedeur Sanders' shoulders. So really quickly, before we get to this video, we're giving away multiple copies of Madden 26 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on this channel. We're running the same giveaway from my Instagram page. Just let me know what console you want the game for, and we'll announce a giveaway winner at the end of each week on my Instagram story. Shedeur Sanders finally has a clear direction to an NFL roster spot, and here's where it gets really confusing, because prior to the very first week of the NFL preseason, Kevin Stefanski made a huge announcement.
We got game Friday night coming up. Some players will play. We'll play Shedeur at quarterback.
So Sanders was named the starting quarterback for said game, and this very well may be the biggest opportunity of Shedeur Sanders' life. However, Sanders is lucky that he's even in the spot to begin with, and let me tell you why. On Monday, August 4th, the Browns released their first official depth chart of the 2025 season, and as it turned out, Shedeur was in a worse position than he thought. Cleveland listed veteran Joe Flacco as the starter, which people weren't surprised by, but to quote Shedeur Sanders' father, now, Joe Flacco definitely lit it up for the Browns before, and he's the only true veteran presence in a quarterback room that so desperately needs that. Then they have former first-round pick Kenny Pickett listed as the backup, which is completely fair. He's the only quarterback in that room who's actually played a snap in the NFL other than Flacco, automatically making that his spot to lose. But during training camp and OTAs, it looked like a battle for QB3 more so than QB1 and QB2 in Cleveland, and that held to be true. But the question was always whether or not Cleveland was going to give their QB3 job to their 5th-round rookie in Sanders or their 3rd-round rookie in Dillon Gabriel. Yeah, for some reason, to this day, nobody knows, but Cleveland drafted both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders in the 2025 NFL Draft, with Gabriel being one of 5 quarterbacks selected over the projected 1st-round pick, which in hindsight is hilarious because according to every report coming out of Browns training camp, Shedeur Sanders is 10 times the quarterback that Dillon Gabriel is. Still, Cleveland decided that Dillon Gabriel would be their QB number 3, making Sanders their QB number 4, and this decision only raised questions from their football community, mainly because, as I mentioned before, Sanders has been balling out during training camp, and the numbers prove it. Over the first 9 training camp practices for the Browns, Joe Flacco has completed 54 of his 92 pass attempts for a 58.7% completion percentage, with 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Kenny Pickett had a much smaller sample size, completing 23 of his 34 pass attempts for 67.6% completion percentage, with 3 touchdowns and a pick. That's fine. Both of those quarterbacks were basically shoo-ins for their spot on the depth chart. But the real problem is found when you compare Shedeur Sanders' performance to Dillon Gabriel's. Gabriel got a ton of reps in training camp, logging in 113 pass attempts, but the problem is he only completed 62 of them, which is good for a 54.9% completion percentage, along with 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Shedeur, on the other hand, completed a whopping 70% of his passes, completing 49 of his 70 pass attempts to go along with a perfect 6 touchdowns to 0 picks thrown. It makes absolutely zero sense that Gabriel is being given the QB3 job, and quite honestly, I don't think that lasts long. Sanders has a chance to show the world how good he is against the Panthers, but Cleveland would have never given him this opportunity if there weren't any practice-related injuries to Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders has lucked his way into starting a preseason game just 4 months removed from being the biggest draft slide in recent memory, and this very well may be his final opportunity to make a splash for the Browns coaching staff. The fact that he was named QB4 after being the best Browns quarterback at training camp just goes to show that they never really had any plan for a quote-unquote quarterback battle, because they already made up their minds right after the draft. I mean, Shedeur was one of the best quarterbacks quarterbacks in college football last season. There's a reason that he was projected to be a first-round pick on the night of the draft. He's unbelievably talented. He's just had some major off-the-field issues that include both he and his father, but none of that has really surrounded him since being drafted. The only news coming out about Shedeur Sanders is just how good he's been performing and just how little faith Kevin Stefanski and the Browns truly have in him. In order to back up what I'm saying, I just want you to take a look at some of the stuff that this guy can do on a football field. Shedeur is arguably the smartest and most accurate quarterback to come out of the 2025 draft, and people are about to see firsthand in the NFL after he did it for years in college. Check this out. Colorado is going to come out in 11 personnel, with all but one of its weapons being lined up on the wide side of the field to its left. TCU is going to blitz 3 off the snap, but they have the wide side blitzer wrapping around the line in an attempt to tie up Colorado's pitiful offensive line. And Shedeur sees this, so he prematurely rolls out left, knowing what's coming, despite there being no pressure just yet. Now, the reason he knows he can do this and still find an open man is because all but one of the routes out on the field are on the wide side of the field, so he's going to roll out left and be in a good position to find his man on an out route on the goal line, which Sanders places perfectly off of an awkward angle. Not only does he have a great arm and a great feel for passing lanes, but he also has a very underrated ability to escape the pocket and create plays with his legs, just like he does in this play. Here, Colorado lines up with 2 receivers on each side of the field, looking to find a quick pass towards the end zone with only 5 yards to go, which is evident by the dual slants on the wide side of the field, mixed with a zig route from the slot wide receiver on the right and a bump from the outside receiver. However, the receivers execute their routes poorly, and in all honesty, it just seemed like the Cincinnati defense was all over their scheme, so Shedeur had to improvise. As soon as he saw how locked up his routes were, he stepped up into a beautiful lane created by the right side of the offensive line and looked to make something happen. He took a slow step to the left and hit the sinking Mike linebacker with a mean hesitation juke to create space and get past him. That hesitation didn't just fool the Mike linebacker, however, it fooled the help defenders behind him as well. Everyone bit on that juke move, which created a lane straight to the end zone, giving Shedeur Sanders an easy touchdown after Colorado's original passing scheme got blown up. Sanders has a real chance to show this off in front of a national audience and really make a name for himself. But if Shedeur Sanders balls out on Friday and he still doesn't get any recognition for it, then I think there's an even bigger issue that we need to talk about, and that's whether or not Shedeur Sanders has a real future in this league. There's a real chance that Shedeur Sanders doesn't make the Browns roster to start the season, despite being arguably the best quarterback on the team. Cleveland has a surplus of quarterbacks, and historically, teams only can carry 3 quarterbacks on their roster throughout the season. However, there are some beliefs that Cleveland could carry 4 quarterbacks on their roster this season, and that very well may save Shedeur Sanders' career if he maintains his QB4 position.
So is there any team out there that has more quarterbacks than the Cleveland Browns? No. After talking to a bunch of people around the league, the Browns are more likely than not to carry 4 quarterbacks on their final 53-man roster.
The problem with Cleveland carrying 4 quarterbacks, though, is that they just went out and signed former Ravens and Dolphins quarterback Tyler Huntley to a contract, adding even more competition in that quarterback room. If Huntley outperforms Sanders in their preseason game against Carolina, there's a very real possibility that Huntley takes over the QB4 position, leaving Shedeur without a job. Cleveland has really mismanaged their quarterback situation this offseason, and don't forget, they still have Deshaun Watson due to return late in the season as well, adding even more chaos to an already chaotic situation. There really is no guarantee when it comes to Shedeur Sanders' career in Cleveland, but if it's up to him, he's going to come out and ball on Friday. It's all in his hands, and he knows that if he doesn't perform, he may be out of a job. So there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to do whatever it takes to secure his position on the team. And if not, then who knows what his future looks like. There have already been signs of Cleveland potentially cutting ties with him, so there really is no guarantee. Regardless, Shedeur Sanders' future is all up to Shedeur Sanders, and it's time to see what he's really about. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I don't know if you guys heard, but ESPN just bought the rights to the NFL Network, and this could completely ruin football. We have a completely separate video on that. I'm going to leave it in the end screen. I'll meet you guys there. On top of that, our baseball channel just made a video on the demise of the New York Yankees. If you happen to be a baseball fan, we're going to leave a link to that in the end screen as well. I'll meet you guys over there. And aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.